Hello, this is Stephen Rose with Praxey. Today I'm going to do a video tutorial as a onboarding for new Praxey users. So this video is targeted primarily to people who are new to Praxey, who are excited about the idea and want to sell a service on the platform. What I'm going to do is show you how to set up an account, but in the process of doing that, I'm going to give more explanation about some of the common misperceptions and the decisions that were made as we were developing Praxey, so that at the end of this video, hopefully, you will have more insight and understanding of the Praxey environment, so that when potential callers reach out to you or who have questions before, during, or after the call, you are in a position to answer those questions because you've watched this video. So, like I said, this is going to practically talk to you about how to set up an account, but it's also going to give you some background about Praxey itself. So let's get started. If you look on my screen here, I'm on the Praxey homepage. It's not actually the homepage, as you can see. This is a testing server, but it's effectively identical to the homepage. And if you look at the design of the website, this is a website. I'm on my computer. You can see I can expand this and contract it. But the design of the website is basically the same as the app. If you have the app installed on your tablet device or on your smartphone, you'll notice that it looks very similar to this, and functionally they're basically equivalent. There's some minor differences just because of the technical differences in the environments that we couldn't do it quite the same. But we wanted to make the app and the website functionally identical, so that you don't get surprised or disoriented when you install the app, or if you're used to using the app, if you switch the website. These work the same and everything looks the same. So this, even though I'm working on the computer today, this tutorial will also serve if you're on the app. And if you are using Praxey to receive calls, you do need to have the app installed. It's not going to ring on your phone, obviously, if you're working on your web browser. But even if you're receiving calls on your computer, you still want to have the app installed, and you want to be signed in on the app on your smartphone, because that way we can send push notifications to you when you get new messages. So even if you're going to make the call, receive the call on your laptop, you still want to have the app on your phone, because that way when I message you and say, hey, can I call you on your laptop, then you get the message. And you won't get that on your laptop unless you're sitting in front of it, which potentially you might not be, but you always have your phone on you. So the first key takeaway is, if you're going to use Praxey to receive calls, you need to install the app and sign in, so that we have a way of contacting you. But let's look at the home page here. As you can see, there's a little intro video which you should watch. It's much more superficial than this one is, but good to know. But then right below that, there's a series of slides that show use cases for Praxey. We made this. A lot of people tell us feedback. This is really good. It really explains to them very clearly how potentially you can use Praxey. Now, my challenge for whoever's watching this video is, if you have a good idea about how Praxey could be used, and you think, and it's not on here, but you think, man, this is a perfect way for this technology, send us a message and we'll make one of these slides for you. And that way, when somebody is coming, when they first hear about Praxey, they come and they look through the slides and they're like, that's interesting, and then they trip onto your use case, and then maybe a month later or 6 weeks later or whatever, when they have a need to have that type of service, they remember that slide and then they go and call you. So this would be a win-win. So let us know if you have a good idea. We'll put it up here as a slide. The bottom animation here shows really a key critical point on Praxey, which is interoperability. Understand that you can use Praxey between different environments. So we have a web version and we have two apps, iOS and Android. And you can use Praxey between all of those. I can call from my mobile app and ring it on a laptop browser. I can call on my mobile web browser and ring on an app. I can call app to app. Okay, all of these things work interoperably, and this is a very important distinction and real big upgrade, I think, from the previous version of Praxey. Because now you can call from mobile browser. What that means is the callers on Praxey don't need to install the app. If you want to sell your Praxey service to someone, you want to tell someone, hey, give me a call on Praxey. All you have to do is share a link with them, a URL, a unique, distinct URL, which you will get when you sign up for your account. When you sign up your account, you receive an email that has your profile link, a unique URL. You share that with someone. You can text it to them. You put it on your social media. If they're on their phone looking at their messages and they see that link, they click it. They open that profile on their web browser on their phone. They can call from that web browser. They don't need the app. This is a huge improvement because think of the difference. You're not asking the person, hey, install this app, sign up, put your credit card in, search for me, call me. No. Now you're just saying, here's my link. They go there, they sign up and put their credit card on the same page, and then they can call you from that same page. They literally don't move away from that page the whole time. So this is really a quantum leap in as far as making it ease of use for someone to call you. This URL, this distinct URL you get, and I'll show you what it looks like. You're going to get a profile link. So let me show you, for example, this. I'm on a dummy account right now, but here's a profile link. Okay, this is what you get when you sign up. You get this link. It's going to say praxey.com profile and then your username. This, I suggest that people put this all over the place. Put this anywhere you have your phone number professionally. If you want, put it at the bottom of tagline of your email. Put it on your business card. Put it on your social media accounts, on your LinkedIn account. Put it on your Facebook account. Put it on, if you have a podcast, put it in the show notes of your podcast. You have a blog, put it on your blog masthead. Now, you might say, well, look, I already give people my phone number. Why would I also give them a Praxey profile? In other words, I give them my phone number. They can call me for free using that phone number. Why would I give them a way to pay to call me? And the answer is that sometimes people want to pay you, believe it or not. There are some scenarios where people will know that you're going to be upset from hearing from them because they're not calling you for the reason that you've given your phone number out. And they know it's a disruption, it's a time. And as a sign of respect, they might be willing to pay you. And it's an indication for you that you're willing to receive money that might make that same person more likely to call you. In other words, I see you with your phone number, and I know your phone number, and I want to call you, but I know the call is going to be disruptive. It's not going to be for the reason you've given your phone number out. I'm just trying to get something and not giving anything back. Well, I may not call in the first place because it's just I don't want to be I don't want like cold calls. I don't want to be disruptive like that. But then I see, oh, you have a Praxey account at the same time, so you're giving a mechanism for me to pay you for your time. Now I feel much more comfortable calling you with my intrusive questioning or whatever it is. Now I'm not as worried about it because I'm paying. And so this is to really use Praxey properly, you got to understand this dynamic that yes, it is actually the case that sometimes people will want to pay you, and don't be afraid to put Praxey as an option. And it's really easy because you give them a link, they open even if they don't know what Praxey is, they see this link, they click the link, and here is a Praxey homepage, and they see, oh, he wants to charge for his time. Okay, And it's also great if somebody calls you, a marketer calls you, or somebody calls you who you don't particularly want to talk to. You can always say, look, I don't mean to be rude, but my time is valuable. I have a Praxey account. If you want to call me and we'll continue this conversation on the clock, that's my Praxey account. So it's an easy way to get marketers off the phone or to get them on the phone, but just paying for your time and showing that they really do value the time that you're giving them. So that's a little bit of sort of philosophical background about really the dynamics of Praxey. It gives a mechanism for people to be paid for their time, and for people, just as importantly, for people to pay. If you've ever been in business, you know how painful cold calls are. They really are painful, because you call a person, he's given his number for a reason, you're calling him for another reason. And now he's got to deal with you. But give me a way to pay you and we'll all be happy. Tell me what is a fair price for me to disrupt your day, and we'll be happy. So this is really important. So this is the profile link you'll get when you sign up. First email you get will have this. And at the bottom of the page we'll go to now, which is the account settings page, this is where you set up your account. At the bottom of this page will be a QR code. I actually don't have one from this one because this is an old account and I just added this feature. But QR code, let's see if I can get it. Let me log in with another account that has it. A QR code, for those of you who don't know, is it basically allows your phone to scan. So you can see this code here at the bottom. You've probably seen these. So if somebody scans this, it basically opens the link in your phone. So there's a lot of ways you could use this QR code. Maybe you even put this physically on somebody's refrigerator as a magnet and say, hey, if you need help, here's my Praxey code. They don't even need to put in the URL. They just take a picture of it and it opens up your profile page, and then they can make a call to you. So the QR code. So this idea of your unique profile is key. Okay, so let's go through this actual sign-up process so that I can talk you through some of the trouble points there. I'm gonna go to one that's already filled out. This is a dummy account. This is a dummy server, so none of this is real, but it gives me the chance to talk through it with you. Okay, so first most important thing on Praxey obviously is the price. How much are you going to charge? Now, there's a per minute charge and there's a minimum charge per call. Some people get confused about this, but it's actually relatively simple. The minimum is just saying to somebody, you have to buy a certain number of minutes when you call. I'm not going to talk to you for 1 minute. It's not worth the disruption in my day. So if you're going to call me, you need to buy, in this case, 6 minutes, because I'm charging a minimum of 30 and it's $5 a minute. So that's 6 minutes. Okay. Anything beyond those 6 minutes, you pay incrementally. You pay an additional $5. So the minimum is not a connection charge where you start at 30 and then the first minute starts 35, second minute 40. No, the minimum is the minimum, and basically the calculation is whichever is greater. If the minimum is greater, that's the price of the call, or if the per minute times number of minute is greater, that's the price of the call. So it's the greater of the two. Now, I suggest you start your price as low as you can sustain to get familiar with Praxey, to see if you're going to get a lot of calls. You want to make yourself as accessible as possible at the beginning. And depending on what you're using Praxey for, it really might be worthwhile to set your rate lower than you would in a normal for your normal. If you charge $100 an hour in your business, it might be worthwhile to set your Praxey rate at 50. And the reason I say that is because Praxey is not just about the money. Okay, you are going to be meeting new people. You are going to be getting calls from people who are interested in your advice, but also want to try this new system out. They want to see what it's all about. And that can lead to all kinds of other benefits, because then maybe the person, oh, he had a good experience with you on the phone, you seemed like you were very knowledgeable about your field, you really helped them, they felt like you had a good rapport. Who knows what else can come out of that? New business can come out of that, new contacts, new files on your social media accounts, a new enthusiast for your work. So this is why I'm saying just consider this idea of charging less for Praxey, originally at least, certainly out of the gate, just to get those contacts from people who want to use this new service. Now, if you get to the point where you're getting too many calls and it really is starting to detract from your normal income, okay, then you can raise your rate. No, there's nothing preventing that. You can change it at any time. But out the gate, you really want to give people easy access to you so that you can get familiar with it, they can get familiar with it, and like I said, you get all those other benefits. See, the way I look at Praxey, as much as me trying to make as much money as possible, I look at it as a way of vetting the general public. I don't give people my phone number because I don't want everyone calling me for free, okay? But I want to put a barrier for them to self-select. I want to have only the best 5-10% of people calling me, because those are the people who realize that my time is valuable, have enough respect for me to show me that by paying me, and then I get to talk to them. So when you use Praxey, you're getting really the best type of people who are using it, and there's an argument to be made for even charging them less, but still charging them because of the type of people who are willing to pay. So that's just a little background here, but that's my philosophy on pricing. You're free to do whatever you want. Now, the concise USP, this is just a 75 character, really try to get to the heart of what you're offering, so people can see this. This is going to show up in the search results. This is going to show up at the top of your profile. So you have 75 characters. Distill what you're doing into that. The next section is description. This is a much larger section, and it's thousands of characters. Here I would suggest, among other things, that you talk about your credentials if they're important in your service. You talk about your experience, maybe an introduction to who you are, where you are, why you're offering this service, any kind of call instructions you might have to the person. So perhaps if you're a mechanic, you would say, please don't call me unless you have proper lighting and you have the hood open in the car. I don't know. If you're a lawyer, don't call me unless you have already prepared something or so-and-so, or have the documents in front of you. If you're a tax attorney, have the documents in front of me. Whatever it is, you're going to learn through the experience of receiving calls what kind of guidance you need to give people ahead of time in this description. But really, this description is totally open for you. If you want to explain, this is what we can do, this is how I can help you, then put it here, okay? And that's what the description is for. So, spend some time on it. And really, this whole profile here, the purpose is to make the person feel comfortable with you, make them feel like you're the type of person they want to talk to, and to make them set their expectations about what to expect from the call. And that's really important, setting the expectations. Look, I'm 20 years JavaScript programmer. I'll give you my best shot with your code. No guarantee I can solve it, but I'll give it a try if you want to call. That kind of expectation setting. So you want to think about all these things. Then you have your email address, which you can change if you want. Now, phone number. I suggest highly that you put your phone number in here, and I suggest that to callers too. And the reason for that is when you get a message, there's a messaging feature on Praxey, and those messages are free. The person has to have a credit card in the system before they can do that, but if they have a credit card in, they get free access to messaging. And if you put your phone number in here, we will forward those messages directly to your SMS. And that means you're more likely to get them quicker and more likely to be able to respond in a timely manner to the person who sent the messages to you. So really recommend you put your phone number in here. We're not going to share that information. We're not going to sell it to anyone. But it just allows you to have a third level of redundancy when you get a message, we'll send an email, we'll send a normal push notification, and we'll send a SMS. So highly recommend you put that phone number in there. And then we have a social media account section. Now on the social media, you can put links to your pages. So, you know, I want to put a link to my Twitter feed. I just write the Twitter feed URL here for myself and then add it to your profile. This is a pretty rudimentary entry system. We don't check with Twitter if this is a real feed. We don't check with Facebook. We don't have anything like that. So it's very rudimentary. So I would ask, after you fill this out, go to your own profile page, which you can do by just clicking in the link right here, and take a look and make sure that all the social media accounts that you've put line up. So you just click, does this open where I want it to open? And in this case, okay, it does. Does this open in the Facebook account that I want it to open? And there it does. Okay, so that's just because we don't vet it. So just make sure you can, because see, you can actually put in like 1, 2, A, B, C, D, E, F, and add that. We don't know the difference. That goes on as your YouTube channel. So check that, make sure it's lined up. But the idea here is before somebody calls you, they've received your profile. Maybe you sent it to them, maybe they found it in correspondence with you, but they come to the profile and they say, do I want to call this person? And they start looking through, they look at the price, look at the description, they look at your social media, and they say, oh, is this, okay, so now I kind of get a sense of who I'm going to talk to. So that's why it's really important to give access to your social media accounts ahead of time. And then afterwards, maybe as important, after somebody has a good call with you and they're excited about it, they feel like they've made a new friend, they had a great talk with you, you helped them out with your problem, you settled them with whatever was disturbing to them, you gave them guidance, they feel more comfortable, they feel you know, happy about the experience. Then they come back to your profile and then they can follow you on Facebook, they can follow you on Twitter. You build up through the Twitter, through the Praxey calls, you build up a group of people who respect you, who have talked to you personally, and who ironically through the process of paying you has become more of a fan of yours. See, the paying is like it's like an emotional commitment. I'm paying you, I've put my money where my mouth is. Then we had a good talk, we had a good experience. I'm a fan of yours now, even more than I was before. Now I go to your social media account, follow Facebook, follow Twitter. You see what I'm saying? So this is why I was saying about charging less than you normally would, because you really want people to call you, because you get all these ancillary benefits from it if they do. If you can get them to commit a little bit of money to you for a short period, short conversation, then you maybe down the road you get all these other benefits. Okay, and then we come to what I think personally is really the most critical, essential marketing element of this whole profile building process, which is adding a video. You can embed a YouTube video here talking about yourself, and you maybe use a video that you already have, or maybe you make one proprietary just for this Praxey sales pitch. It's easy to read through. People will read through your stuff, but there's nothing simpler than clicking play on a video. And when they come to your profile, if you look at my profile, and they come to your profile and they see a video, then they're going to click it. And this is really your chance to introduce. So you can see on here, you know, it's just so easy to click. And this is really your chance to tell make yourself personal to somebody and say, this is who I am, this is why you should call me, this is how I can help you. And you know, really warm them up to the call. So definitely recommend you add a video. Keywords, put some keywords in there if you want to appear in more searches. These keywords should be directly related to the service you're offering. So do that. And then we get to the customized account section. The listed searchable, this is the first one. Now by default, all accounts are unlisted and unsearchable. And the reason I do that is because you got to understand, every account on Praxey has the capability of both making and receiving calls. So if I sign up to call you, I'm going to have exactly the same type of account, in the back end as you have. I'm probably never going to use it to receive calls, but I have that capability. So, but most people don't want to be public on Praxey. They just want to use it to make calls. You want to be public because you're a professional and you want people to call you. That's the whole point. But if I create an account, I don't want people to call me. So by default, the privacy settings are unlisted, unsearchable, like it is now. So when you really should do this if you're trying to sell your services on Praxey. Click this over to listed and searchable. And now that's not necessarily true. It might be that you want to be private, even as a seller of your services, because you only want your customers to call you. Maybe you want to manage very closely who calls you on Praxey, and you only want your customers, people who have talked to you, to call you. Then you can go ahead and put it keep it on unlisted. But for most people who are using Praxey to find new customers to offer a unique service to a broader audience, you want to make it searchable and you want to make sure you put those keywords in there. The next toggle here is the video and audio calls or audio only. That's pretty self-explanatory. I do encourage people to use the video option. It's an option, and you might not be called in a video. People might not want to talk to you on video. But even if you have a service that you can provide from on audio only, it gives a lot more from having video. I mean, you can see even just from this tutorial, you see me, so that adds more to the experience than if I was just doing a voiceover. So adding video is something I suggest to do, just because of that. It gives that more of an intimate experience for people, and you're giving them more options. Ultimately they might not want to do a video, which is fine, but you're giving them the option, and that makes for a better experience. The next one is, I have a similar guidance on that call recording. You can turn optional call recording on or off. Ultimately, call recording decision is made by the caller. So all this does is say, do they have the option? If I say no, call recording disabled, that means nobody can record our calls. Okay. If I say yes, that means calls will be recorded. And how that works is, at the end of the call, when I try to call you, you have a recordable account. I start calling you, and I get a pop-up last step before the call starts ringing that says, he has a recordable account. Do you want to record this call? Now, if I say yes, then at the end of the call, shortly after, within maybe half an hour or so, depending on how fast the processor works, we'll both get an email with a link that shows that allows us to download the video, and it will be on our account. So I encourage you to allow recording. You're again giving an option to a person. They might not choose it, but the reason for that is, if you have a really great call with somebody, okay, at the end of the call, both of you are really satisfied. You've helped them out. You have showcased your skills. You have this has been a great example of the power of your knowledge, experience, and now you have it on video. And assuming you have a good rapport with the person, you could say, hey, do you mind if I use this, put this on my YouTube channel? And assuming it's not a personal issue, like you're not a therapist or something, they're not going to care, and they'll say, sure. Okay, now you have material that you can show to other people as an example of what they can get when they call you. So it becomes this virtuous cycle. You take the best calls you have, use them for marketing. People see that, they want to have that same experience. They call you, you get other good calls, and you just keep building on. So this is the power of having the recordable option on. I recommend you do that. And the last slider here is a bit obscure, but it's toggling between one-on-one calls and mailbox calls. Most people are going to have one-on-one. Mailbox calls are a very edge case, which is basically what mailbox calls allow is for people to call and leave a message. It doesn't ring on your phone. They just leave a message, and they can leave a video or audio message, and they're paying to do so. There are certain circumstances, use cases, where we think people might want to do that. and so I built it in this version of Praxey. But you probably want to have just the one-on-one. So that's all we'll say about that. The last thing here is this minimum charge renews after how much time. So the idea here is you have a call with somebody. Let's say you charge $10 minimum, $1 a minute. You talk for 5 minutes, and then the call drops. Okay, through just the person drives into a tunnel or something. Well, we don't know that call dropped because of that, or if it dropped because you hung up. So you're going to get charged your minimum time on that. So we allow the person to call back within 1 hour and not get the minimum charge. He still gets charged per minute, but he doesn't get the minimum charge. And that's also for if I make a call to you and I talk to you, for 30 minutes and I hang up, I still have the option of calling back within an hour with a short follow-up and paying per minute. So we don't want the minimum charge to be incurred immediately on the second call. We want to give a grace period where the person could call back and not have to get charged the minimum call. And so what this does is it extends that period. So you could say to somebody, I'm going to give it's $50 minimum to call me, but you get a day pass. Okay, you can call me back in the next 24 hours at any point and just pay the very incidental per minute costs. Because some circumstances, maybe you need a lot of follow-up calls, so that's what this is for. So you probably don't need to toggle this, but it's an option that we put in here if you do want to have more of an extended amount of time for people not to get charged the minimum, so they might buy in and then they have follow-up calls and you take them. You can change that here. That is pretty much the setup for the profile. There's some other things on this page here. If you see missed or failed calls, we'll have a record of those. You can download the videos you have been recorded, reset your password, payment options if you want to add a new card. But that's pretty much setting up your account in the current version of Praxey. Let's just take a look real quick here and see what else maybe would be interesting to you. The messages. This just shows you who you've messaged. It's similar to how messages work on your phone. So you have a top level list of people, but if you click in, then it shows all of your history of your messages. That's on the messages. Again, if you put your phone number in, we'll forward the messages. If somebody wants to message you, they would do it here from your profile page, send a text message. Now, of course, this is myself, so I can't send a text message. But if I pick somebody else, it would take me to their profile, and then I can send them a text message, and then talk to them here. So it's pretty self-explanatory how messages work. Call history, these are outgoing calls, so you don't have call history for incoming calls. If most of your calls are incoming, then you would go to account balance, because these are calls you're getting paid for. And so these are the incoming calls. And you can see each one incrementally adds up until you build up a balance. Here, this person has $2,000 worth of received calls. There's a refund option. If you have a really bad call with somebody or they're dissatisfied and you decide you want to give them a refund, you have to wait 24 hours for the call to settle, and then you have 2 weeks to give a full or partial refund. I click in here. You can see it gives the date, who was the call from, how much was charged, and then you have the option. Do I want to give a full refund, which would it also takes out our commission, or if I give a partial refund, it proportionally calculates our proportionate commission, and it would take that out. And you can just submit the refund. The caller will get an email saying your card has been refunded. We give that access to you. We don't want you to come to us to do this. We allow you to do that. That's built into the account, and that's on your account balance page here. So you can see these calls were done recently, and therefore I have to wait until tomorrow before I can refund them, because they have to be settled first before they can be refunded. So you give it 24 hours. These were done later or earlier. So I have 2 weeks for them, and then after 2 weeks, the refunds aren't allowed. So you got to make that decision within 2 weeks. Once you have a certain amount of money built up and you want to take a withdrawal, just go ahead and click the withdrawal button. These numbers don't match because this is a test account, but yours will. Put your PayPal email account and put your password in here and initiate the transfer. Now, if you don't have a PayPal or you want to use some other way for us to give you the money, that's not a problem. Just send us an email. We can cut you a check and mail you a check. We can do a bank transfer, whatever it is you would prefer. We're happy to accommodate you. We prefer PayPal. It's just easiest at this point, but don't hesitate to email us if for whatever reason you can't use PayPal. Let's see here, account balance, search option. So that's pretty much the intro here. The other thing is I always like to emphasize to people, remember on the call that you have a 30-second grace period during which if you hang up, if either party hangs up, there's no charge. That is a period of time where you're trying to make sure that the connection is good, that you're having a good video or an audio connection. I have other I have other tutorials on this channel about how to make a call, so I do advise you to watch those. They're more targeted to the callers, but they explain this grace period, how the call works, how the call controls are used best. So check those out. That's all I got for you today. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen, and hope you have a successful experience with Praxey and make a lot of money. And like I said, feel free to contact me if you have any use cases you think should be profiled or questions. Thanks so much.